Hi guys, welcome back to the unofficial lecturers. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matapelo, and yeah, I'm with the other unofficial lecturer. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi guys, how are you? My name is Kenneth, the husband, the fantastic husband. So yeah, I'm the other driver in this show.
Okay, yeah, so today we are having another financial literacy video, but today we are bringing it a little bit home. We are making it as practical as possible. It was not easy to come up with this topic because it's not really easy to put yourself out there. But yeah, we feel that it's necessary. I do believe that our experiences are not for ourselves, but a lot of people can draw wisdom and can learn a lot, and can draw lessons from our experiences. So today we are talking about the biggest financial mistakes that we have done. So how the video will be structured, we will define what a financial mistake is, and then what is your, between the two of us, what was our biggest financial mistakes that we have done, and what are some of the lessons that we have drawn from that experience, and how did we recover from it. Are you ready, kid?
To be honest, I'm not ready. I kinda dislike this topic, but because it's so personal, but that's what makes it interesting, I think, because now we are talking about the mistakes that we all have done, financial mistakes. So yeah, it's a bit sensitive to talk about mistakes because always people want to hear the good side, and especially on YouTube, if you're going to expose yourself, people just want to hear the good side. But hey, even when you talk about finances, you have the bad side of it, you know.
Yeah.
You have, now we are going to talk about the mistakes that we have done and how we have recovered. So I'm a bit shaken by the topic, but yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it's a necessary discussion. So yeah, let's get into it. So Kenneth, how would you define a financial mistake? So if someone was to say, what was your biggest financial mistake, how would you classify that incident as a financial mistake?
Okay. Let me start with the definition. Financial mistake, it's any financial commitment that you have that might imbalance your finances. For example, if you are going to take any financial commitment that makes you to be imbalanced. For example, let's say during the month, at the beginning you earn 30,000.
I'd love to end it.
But by the 10th or the 15th, just halfway through the month already, so you don't have any money. For me, then that will be a financial mistake, a financial commitment that is a mistake, because you do not want to have commitments that will make you to suffer financially. You find yourself running to machonisa, run into your friends and everyone. So it's annoying to always ask for money. Yeah. So there is my own definition of what is a financial mistake: taking a commitment that you actually do not afford.
Let me just also add on to your definition of what a financial mistake is. I think the key thing is it's the fact that it could have been avoided. Like there are certain things, like you could have avoided whatever it is that you have done, but also the other thing is that it has a carry through financial implication. So like with the example that you said that you made, I mean, let's say for instance you buy a car that you don't afford. You know, number one, you could have avoided buying that car if you know that you don't afford it. But number two, it means it is going to affect other things in your own finances. Maybe it might affect if you were someone who was used to buying themselves clothes every month, and now because you've bought a car that you can't afford, there are certain decisions or there are certain things you would need to compromise on.
True,
so it's something that can be avoided, and it's something that has carried through financial implications.
True. True.
So let's get into your experience.
Okay, my experience. Okay, my biggest financial mistake that I've done, I don't really have, but for this video, I do have a mistake, I know. So my biggest mistake was to buy a car while I was still on contract, and to buy a car that was a second hand, and my knowledge with cars was not that good, you know. So I had to sacrifice a lot of things just to buy this car, because I felt that at that moment that I needed a car. But then my mistake was not only financial. My mistake, it was also the fact that I bought a second-hand car, and my my knowledge with cars was still developing. I didn't even inspect the car thoroughly to understand if it has any hiccups. So I bought a car when I was on contract, and obviously when you take with a personal loan, the worst part, and when you buy a car with a personal loan and you are on a contract, guys, the bank doesn't play. The banks are not our friends. So what they did, obviously, they charged me something like 27% interest rate. It was a lot. And again, it was tied up to my contract. My contract was 24 months, so it was tied up to that 24 months. So I was paying almost of what I was getting, so that the bank can reap their money in time, and to ensure that by the time I finish the contract, I also have paid up the car. So it was quite scary. It was quite scary, but then I appreciate that mistake. It's one thing that I do because of I don't think I want to see myself in such a situation again.
Yeah, and there are certain lessons you can only really learn them through experience.
True,
I mean,
true.
it's not that the information it's not there, but the lesson becomes impactful if you go through it. I think now you really know better. If someone was to say to you, go buy a car with a personal loan, you would probably be like.
And I think the other thing that I was afraid of. Remember, I have friends who were still on contract and they bought brand new cars or they bought better cars with a vehicle finance instead of personal loan. I think again my knowledge was that if you're on a contract, you cannot qualify for a vehicle finance, which I was wrong, and I didn't know that. So I think if I did my research properly, I could have at least been aware about those options that I have to say that because again my biggest fear was that if I buy the car on vehicle finance again, maybe remember it's 5 years or 6 years. If the contract ends and I'm not working, what's going to happen to the car? Is the bank going to take the car and I'll be left with nothing? So yeah, that was my fear. But again, I think again with people who took the chances, most of them they are working, they are permanent. So they are paying off the cars now and they have never had hiccups with them. So I should have just done my research, because even with me, before my contract ended, I was permanent. But the time I took a car, I didn't know if I was going to get a permanent job after my contract. And I think that's one of the things that made me fear to take a vehicle finance.
Okay, so what are some of the lessons that you, let's say top 3. So what are the top 3 lessons that you took from that experience?
My biggest lessons that I took is that the first one, you need to be patient, guys. I know we all need cars. That was not my first car that I bought. Before that, I had a car. And that car, if I can tell you what happened to that car, it was our first car. But because with driving I was better, obviously my dad
better
had
compared to what?
better compared to the other gender.
But why are we comparing?
I'm just saying I was just better driver than her. So with her, she was just chasing anything that she could see. Not with this person. So the car was like, especially the bumper, it has scratches all over. But yeah, we learned a lot. So when I bought a car, that car was there. It was not a perfect car. My friends used to laugh. They said
it was far from being perfect,
yo,
if we are being honest.
Ken, you call this a car? So in fact, my dad once told me that this is a moving coffin.
I remember the time you wanted to sell it to one of the interns that we started with. And you
yeah, that guy, I won't forget that, to be honest with you. That guy, he cashed me, and he cashed me in a group of colleagues that I was working with to say, can you call that thing of yours a car? So yeah, thank you for that, Kabel. If it wasn't for you, you're one of the people that made me to go out and buy the second car because they didn't appreciate my first car. Okay, back to the video. 3 lessons that I will always carry with me from that experience. The first one is you need to be patient with yourself. I mean, like, look, I had a car, I had my first car. There was no need for me to rush into getting a second one, because the financial implications were very much bigger than me back then. So I needed to understand that even if people laugh at you, you're not driving the nicest car, you're driving your father's car. When my father was rich, you need to understand the process. So that was the first one, that I needed to be patient with myself. Things were going to be better. I didn't need to go through that, but I just put my pressure on myself and I went for that car. Then the second lesson would be that do your research, especially with second-hand cars, guys. When you go and buy a second-hand car, you need to do your research. You need to make sure that you are not going to just buy a car on the spot. With that car that I bought as my second car, it was obviously it was better in shape, better with everything compared to the first one, but it was involved in an accident before, and those are some of the things that I didn't know. And they just told me that they replaced some of the parts, they replaced the back door and all of those things. So when I checked, remember the boot, I think after a month or two, so the boot was damaged after just 2 months of having the car. So I had to but then yeah, I could live with that. It was not much. Someone told me that you can go and weld that for like 20 rand or 80 bucks. But from there, I started to hear a lot of sounds, especially when I took the car to the Bundus and the roads there, they're not that nice. So when you hit the bumps and you hit the potholes, I just started to hear the noise coming from the suspension.
So basically there was just one problem after the other.
Yeah.
You fix one problem, another one resurfaces.
Yeah. So the suspension, I spent almost 10,000 fixing that suspension, and I didn't even have 6 months with the car, and I was already fixing the car. So I was so frustrated because I spent so much money buying this car, and I'm still paying the loan. I need to fix the car. It was too much. So yeah, the third lesson that I would take from this experience, it would be to always get advice. Don't just do things with your own opinion. Get advice from people who have done it before, and speak to someone who have been through the process that you want to embark on. Yeah.
Okay, so those are your top 3 lessons.
Yeah.
And then, so the last question is, how did you recover from that incident? So you mentioned what was your biggest financial mistake. You mentioned what are the top 3 lessons that you took from that experience. So so how did you recover from it?
Very simple. I fixed the car, and when I was still fixing, I needed to fix the other part. So I fixed everything and I sold the car. Very simple. I sold the car, and it was a very popular brand. It was a VW Polo, and everyone was that brand. So I sold the car and I got back my money. So I paid off my loan from that. So from paying up the loan, I was financially free from the loan at last.
Yeah, that was very insightful. With me, my biggest financial mistake was because when I was in varsity, one of the things that really motivated me to push really harder and to stretch myself was always the fact that I want to go home and improve the situation at home.
Sure.
Right. So after I got a better paying job, what I did was I went and I took a personal loan. So I went and I took a personal loan so that I can kickstart the building project from home, right? So like you said, at that time I was also on a contract for 24 months. So with what banks do, so they do a risk assessment, they do a risk profile assessment. So they would ask you if you are a permanent employee. So all of those things that they ask you, they factor into the interest rate that you will be charged, right? And also remembering that with a personal loan, by nature or by virtue of it being a personal loan, the interest rate that one pays, it's really higher,
Yeah.
So so they would ask you what are you going to do with the money that you're borrowing. So I did say that I want to kickstart the building project from home, and then they gave me the personal loan at a very high interest rate. I think also my rate was above 20%.
Yeah, mine was 27%. So yours, I know with FNB, it's pretty much, it was higher. It's higher than Capitec, I think. So you get that it was 27.5.
Yeah, it was very high. I know it was above 20. In fact, I think it was above 25%.
It was.
And yeah, so after getting the loan, I kickstarted the building project from home. But also with a personal loan, you need to be aware that one can only qualify for a certain amount of money. So you can't go and take a personal loan of $1 million, you know.
Yeah.
So even with me it was even worse because I was still on contract. That was my first personal loan, so even the amount of money that I was given was not that much. So meaning that even the job that I was doing at home couldn't go it couldn't be that significant because even the money that I had, it was not that much. But yeah, I kickstarted the project, and within a month the money had run out. We didn't even start with the foundation because we were buying building materials, we were buying a lot of things, but we didn't even start with the physical work of the project because the money had run out. And what that means is that even though the money had run out for the building project, Matapelo on the other hand still needed to pay the loan, you know.
Sure.
And yeah, so that was my biggest financial mistake. So I call it a biggest financial mistake because at that time I was not informed about the types of loans or financial assistance that are there. I know now that there are loans specifically for building. So they would call it a building loan. They give you a loan, and then what you need to do with that money is to buy building related materials. So you buy cement and whatnot, you know, and even the interest rate that you are charged, that's even lesser than with a personal loan.
Should have went to Cabo.
Yeah, I should have. So yeah, that was my biggest financial mistake. So the top 3 lessons that I learned from it, number 1 was, I think, to be honest, if I'm really being honest with myself, I could have waited. You know, I could have waited. Yeah, I could have been patient, to be honest with you. I just put myself under pressure, and I felt like I was obligated to do it at that time because that is one of the things that kept on motivating me, you know. But one of the things that I did not understand is the value that comes with waiting. You know, when you wait, you also do your research, you know.
True.
When you wait, you also consult people who have done something similar to what you want to do. So yeah, and that was the biggest lesson that I took. Wait, be patient. And then number 2, don't disqualify yourself before you go and do research. I think with me, I disqualified myself. Because I was on a contract, I didn't even think that I would qualify for a building loan, you know.
True.
And I disqualified myself even before seeking the relevant information or seeking knowledge in whatever it is that I wanted to pursue. I could have just went to a bank and asked before disqualifying myself. And then the 3rd lesson is always do your research, guys. Always do your research. Do as much research as needs be. And by research, we are not only talking about desktop research. Also ask people. I mean, this thing of assisting at home, it's not something new. A lot of people have gone through it. A lot of people have done it. If you know someone who also built a house for their families, go to them and ask them how they went about it. So, and also ask them what are some of the mistakes that they did, what are some of the lessons that they learned, you know, so that you can also learn as much as you can. So yeah, those are my top 3 lessons. And yeah, how did I recover from it? So with me,
I wanna hear that part. How did you recover?
Yeah, with me, it's not like with Kenny. It was easy for him to just sell the car and start from scratch. With me, it doesn't work like that. I couldn't go to the bank and be like, go and fetch the building materials that I bought. This thing, it's not working. So with me, it really took a lot of discipline and being intentional. I needed to make financial adjustments. I needed to forego a lot of things, you know. Forego going out, forego vacations, forego a lot of things so that I can add a little bit of more than what is expected for me so that I can finish paying the loan quicker. So that is what I did. I think for a good year, I didn't buy clothes. I did my own hair. I do my own hair a lot. So I didn't even do my own hair. I was saving on that. I was saving on that. Yeah, even with the clothes. I mean, I didn't buy clothes. I just made a lot of big financial changes. And the other thing, I stopped even eating out. You know, when you're staying alone, eating out and takeaways, it becomes some sort of a norm.
Yeah, plus she loves food, this one. So it was necessary for her to stop eating out. She doesn't mind spending 1,000 on takeaways. So yeah. But I'm glad she made those necessary adjustments. They were necessary, you know?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it.
Okay.
You must stop throwing me under the bus.
As you were.
Yeah, so those are I needed to make big financial adjustments so that I so that I can pay the loan off. I can pay off the loan quicker, and I did that. Each and every month after making those adjustments, I would reprioritize the saving that I had made and put it into the loan so that I can decrease the interest rate that I'm charged. And yeah, I paid, it was a 2 years loan. I finished paying it off in 1 year, 6 months, or 1 year, 4 months. And then after that, the building project is still on. We have started now with the physical work, but I'm not putting myself under pressure. I'm doing it through savings. So I am saving now each and every month. There's a certain amount of money that I set aside for the project, and then whatever amount of money that I have gathered at the end of that month, we use it for whatever it can do, and then the same process again next month. Whatever savings I have, I put it into the building project instead of me just going to a bank and borrowing money. It is going to take longer with savings, but it doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. Just because it's not happening now, it doesn't mean that it will never happen.
True. No, I like the fact that you went back and you realized that you do not need to take up loans every time you have a massive project.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that you are using your own savings to push this project, because of people don't understand. It doesn't mean you cannot go and take a loan. It's just that you prefer not taking it. And not taking a loan, it means you are not going to pay any interest to anyone.
Yeah.
So if you are going to build a house worth 200,000, you will actually use the 200,000 and not more than that.
Not more than
So if the bank gives you 200,000, you actually owe them more than 200,000. You owe them depending on how long you need to pay them. You might even owe them double the money that you took. So it's always a good method, a good strategy to save or to use your own money to build. So thanks for that, Matapelo, for sharing with us. I'm taking the notes as well.
Thank you guys for tuning in. That was our 2 cents on our biggest financial mistakes that we have done. Yeah, don't forget to comment in the comment section. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you really did enjoy it. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe. It really means a lot to us.
Guys, please subscribe, like for real. Press the button below, subscribe, and,
bye guys.
and share the video, and like the video.
Bye.
Please.